Welcome to the Yolo County District Attorney's Office podcast, The Chronicles of Justice. Today we will be discussing the annual Victim Tribute Ceremony, which is hosted by the DA's office and is one of the ways our office observes the National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which is always the second week in April. My name is Kevin Clark, and I will be joined by Victoria, the family member of a victim of crime, and our keynote speaker from last year's Victim Tribute Ceremony. We will also be joined by Julia Hernandez, a victim advocate with our office, and our district attorney, Jeff Reisig. Victoria, let's get started with you. You attended and were a big part of last year's tribute. What did the tribute mean to you?
Initially, I didn't realize how important it was going to be for my recovery until I completed it. I had been through so much, through the tragedy, through the trial, and then to be able to get up and talk about my mom and talk about Chip in a positive light, and to have to kind of really think about it and line the ducks up and say what I really wanted to say was so important, such an important part of the recovery. And then at the end, I was given a plaque that said that I was being honored for my courage and my resiliency. And I can't tell you how in the year since I received that plaque, I've looked at it, I put it over my desk in my office, and in times where I'm sad or it's getting dark and I look at that plaque, I just think, I got a plaque for coming through what I did. So it meant a tremendous amount to me, Kevin.
And as being the keynote speaker, how did that help in the healing process?
I was able to have my voice. I had to really think about what I was going to say because I was in front of an audience. So I really had to think about my feelings and in a way to honor my mom. And that was really helpful in the healing process. Also to see so many people, law enforcement, members of the community, honoring my mom, honoring my parents and the crime that was done to them. It just felt like a beautiful moment of closure.
And what can others who are attending, victims and community members, expect as the experience from your point of view attending and being the keynote speaker last year?
There was tremendous support at that event. Law enforcement, again, members of the community, members of the district attorney's office, so much support for an acknowledgement for what we'd come through as a family, and for what you go through as a victim.
And it wasn't just you and your family that was honored. There were others as well, correct?
Yeah, there were so many others, and each one got to have their voice. Each one was acknowledged. It was just a beautiful ceremony of strength, support, courage. I can't recommend it enough.
Do you have any other encouraging words for our listeners or other family members or victims of crime out there?
Yes, reach out for help. Victim services is, especially in Yolo County, is phenomenal, and they can point you in the right direction to get help. There's help. We have a choice, and there's people that can help you.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing, Victoria. Now we'll be shifting our focus to hear from Julia Hernandez, a victim advocate with our office. Julia, the theme Serving Victims, Building Trust, and Restoring Hope, the theme of this year's event. How do these terms resonate with our office and specifically our Victim Services Unit?
Every year we have an event, and there's always the National Crime Victims' Rights Week, the agency. They send us information, and they always have a different theme. This year's theme of Serving Victims, Building Trust, Restoring Hope is something that we are familiar with, is something that we do every single day. So for us at Yolo County Victim Services, I have to say that we are always trying to build trust and we're always trying to restore hope. We're trying to do a lot more every day. Each case is different, but what's great about reaching out to victims and having them being able to trust us is that then hopefully we can create some rapport, we can create some building that trust so that when they're coming to court, or sometimes they're not able to come to court, but if they come to court, we're sitting with them, we're with them in the courthouse. It's an immensely stressful time for people to come to court and sit there and either wonder if they're going to see the offender or wonder if they're going to see, whatever it is that they might see, people aren't used to coming to court. So we want to be there with them. But even if they can't come to court, then just the trust, we're telling them, we're going to get all of the information for you and we're going to provide it back to you, because you have lives. You have, school, child care that you have to deal with. You have work. We want to be there. We want to be able to provide that information. And if it's just providing a bit of information about what happened in court that day to someone who can't be there, then they know they're not out of the picture. They know that they're not, the whole point is that we want to be able to say to them, we're transparent. This is what's happening in court. You deserve to know what's going on. And so it's really important to us to be able to be that link.
Okay, thank you. And why is this event, the Victim Tribute, important to us, specifically Victim Services? The DA's office does many events throughout the year, but this one is specifically in the area where you work and serve.
Because I can't imagine, trying to get offenders and holding them accountable, but then forgetting about victims, forgetting about why it is we're doing what we do. We do it because of them. We do it because someone was victimized. They didn't sign up for that. It wasn't their choice. They don't want to be here. But we want to be able to hold them through that process. And we want to be able to make sure that, they're not in the dark. They should be at the forefront. They should be knowing what's going on. It's their lives that we're dealing with. And it's them. We're trying to make sure that whatever traumatizing event happened, that we're working them through to the other side, to where, they're not going to be the same person. Their lives are going to be different. But we want to make sure that they always know who to go to for answers, and that we can say to them, here, hopefully at the end, there is some recovery. There is some hope at the end.
And how and why do we select those survivors of crime that will be honored at the tribute?
The district attorneys, we asked all the deputy DAs and the district attorneys to select cases that they feel where a person has really persevered through a case, a prosecution of the case. And maybe they came to court, maybe they had to come to court numerous amount of times, depending on what type of case it is. And so then those attorneys are giving us those nominations. And then as a smaller group, we have to, obviously pick 4. So it's usually, now 5, but it's usually because there was 4 of us advocates, now there's 5. We each want to be able to present a case. And so then we work with that DA and we say, okay, what about this case? What about this case? Do you feel strongly about this one? And then we have to narrow it down.
Okay, thank you very much. And are there any other parting thoughts or encouraging words you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would just hope that more people would want to come and attend the event. I realize people often say to me, well, why should I come? I'm not a victim of a crime, or I've never been a victim of a crime. And I always tell community members, people that ask me that question, you're coming to support the people who have been victims of crime. You're coming to support your community, because it can happen to anyone, unfortunately. Again, people don't sign up for this, and they don't sign up to being a victim of a crime. And you never know how those people feel until it does happen to you or someone that you love. So I always tell them, just come and check it out, see what it's like, and come and support people, because it's really important in our community. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Thanks for sharing. And now we will be speaking with our district attorney, Jeff Reisig. Jeff, how did the tribute begin, and why did you start hosting it?
We made the decision to host an annual tribute to honor victims of crime so that we could highlight their stories of survival, bravery, courage, and the commitment that it takes to sit through an entire criminal trial. These are stories that the general public often doesn't get to hear. They hear about the crime, they see it on TV, they read it in the paper, but the stories of the victims don't go told enough. And so the tribute is our effort to really bring the victims to the forefront and have them honored and celebrated as survivors in the process.
Why is it important for our office to continually host an annual event?
The Victim Tribute really goes to the core mission of the District Attorney's Office, and that is to serve victims of crime. The annual tribute really is our way of bringing the community's focus to the stories of these people who are survivors and who have demonstrated courage and bravery through the process. And it's really just an opportunity for the entire office in the criminal justice system to get together in a safe environment and celebrate these individuals.
What can the public expect to see and learn from this event?
The tribute's always a moving event. We tell the stories of the victims in a different context. And what I mean by that is we tell the stories from the standpoint of the victims persevering through the proceedings and through the crime. And we honor them and we celebrate them. And so what they can expect to see are stories of courage and survival and commitment. And it's really both an emotional experience, but also a very rewarding experience, I think, for anyone who comes and listens to these stories.
Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners or for other victims of crime who might be out there listening?
My closing thought for anyone out there who might be a victim of crime is rest assured that there is an army of supporters waiting to help you at the district attorney's office. Prosecutors, investigators, victim advocates, and all of our staff are committed to helping you through the process. And at the end of the day, we will stand there with you to ensure that justice is done.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Victoria and Julia and Jeff, for participating in today's podcast. Please join us at the Victim Tribute Ceremony on Thursday, April 14th at 12 p.m. at the Woodland Opera House, located at 340 2nd Street in Woodland, California. Thank you for listening to the Chronicles of Justice. For more information about our office, please visit our webpage at www.yoloda.org or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.